Hi everyone. Our study is called Evaluating Health Choice Behaviors of College Students Using a Delayed Discounting Survey. Discounting has been described temporally for health behaviors of at-risk populations. The purpose of the current investigation was to evaluate temporal discounting of health choice behaviors of college students. Discounting surveys about working out were developed and administered to 15 college students. Linear, exponential, hyperbolic, and hyperboloid functions were fit to the data to provide a predictive model of the participants' temporal discounting as it pertains to making healthy choices. AUC values were compared with demographic variables of females versus males. The results indicate that females discounted much more rapidly than their male counterparts. A discussion is provided regarding potential contextual variables that may influence the health discounting behavior of college students. Self-control could be defined as the choice of a larger, more delayed reward over a smaller, less delayed reward. Impulsivity could be defined as the opposite. When offered a choice, people would most likely prefer to have what they want sooner and more of it. However, these choices are not normally one-dimensional. People do not choose only between more or less or sooner versus later. These choices are in fact multidimensional in nature and trade-offs are necessary. Temporal discounting, also known as delay discounting, indicates preference for a smaller, sooner reward versus a larger, later reward. Delay discounting represents the extent to which consequences decrease in effectiveness to control behavior as a function of there being a delay in their occurrence. Higher rates of delay discounting are often put to use as an index of impulsivity. As the amount of time to a given reward increases, the subjective value of the reward decreases. Then, the more likely the individual is to choose the smaller immediate reward. The delay interval of the larger reward is then extended out in time to determine whether the subject discounts the value of the delayed reward at a higher rate as the delay to the larger reward is increased in time. The present study will investigate if the temporal discounting has implications for health behavior of exercising within college students. AUC values were also compared across genders. A total of 15 undergraduate and graduate participants attending a school in Southern Illinois participated in the present study. 9 female participants and 6 male participants were used in the current study. Of the 15 participants, the study was conducted with 12 Caucasians, 2 Hispanics, and 1 African American. The participants ranged in age from 18 to 36 years old. Participants were recruited by the surveyors asking people at random on campus during one weekday. Each participant agreed to participate and gave consent. At any point in time throughout the study, the participant could choose not to submit the survey or could leave the study. The delayed discounting questionnaire consisted of 6 demographic pre-survey questions and 48 delayed discounting questions in order to determine potential biases within subjects. Prism GraphPad was used to analyze and interpret the data. Quality of workouts were measured using a key that described workouts as great, good, average, bad, and horrible. Workout quality was described as great, being that it was sought after terms of maximum calories burned and enjoyment of the workout activity. Workout quality that was described as a horrible workout was one that would never be sought out again from minimum level of calories burned and a lack of enjoyment from the workout activity. Each question inquired 2 qualities of workouts, one available now and the other available at a delayed period of time. Each question was staggered as one on top and the other along with the following line, each statement for the participant to checkmark the preferred item. The amount of time and the quality of the workout varied in consistently larger quantities. Participants were gathered through verbal requests for participation at various locations on campus. The participant's identity was protected through anonymity on the questionnaire using a randomized ID number. Each questionnaire was completed on a written handout. Participants were asked to choose between one of the two options based on preference between quality of workout at said time versus other quality of workout at a different time. The length of time for completion of each survey was under 10 minutes for all participants. The hyperbolic function was used to demonstrate the systematic discounting of participants when presented with repeated choices of specific delays. B corresponds to the subjective value at the delayed or indifference point. A refers to the amount of the delayed reward, and K is an estimate of the discount rate. The K value represents the sensitivity of the delay. When the K value increases, the discounting value of the hypothetical reward decreases at a more rapid rate due to the function of the delay of time was the time delay for each indifference point. The hyperboloid function was used as a more accurate assessment of systematic discounting. The hyperbolic equation was the same as the hyperboloid function, with the addition of the S value, which corresponds to the psychophysical and non-linear scaling between the amount of the reward and the time delay. The S value was calculated using a graphing program called Prism GraphPad by inputting all of the data from each participant, which calculated a best fit S value that was subtracted from the error S value on the hyperboloid data set. From there, the number provided from the subtracted equation and inserted that number into the actual parameter S value. Experimenters calculated the switch point for each participant using the online graphing tool in order to determine the individual switch-off point by calculating the differences between the ascending and descending values from the time sequence. Each participant's physical hard copy survey was coded to fit the specific equation being calculated by the interpreting answer provided with a number to be converted into data using Microsoft Excel. The K value was calculated with delays measured from days to weeks. Area of the curve, or AUC, is the theoretically neutral value with respect to the form of the indifference curve. The AUC value is presented by normalizing the x and y values to represent a numerical value between 0 and 1.0. The number closest to the 0 value indicates the steepest possible discounting. Additionally, the value closer to the 1 represents the value that has less discounting. The area of the curve was calculated by normalizing the delay and subjective value of the participant's individual median value. Inter-observer agreement, or IOA, was calculated by two independent observers calculating the scores from each questionnaire independently for all surveys. IOA was calculated by two researchers independently reviewing each survey during the data collection period when survey data was input into an Excel spreadsheet using the formula: the agreement divided by agreements plus agreements. IOA was calculated for 100% of the surveys and equaled 100%. The actual parameter S value for the current study was 0.46. The derived K value for the current study displayed a value of 0.33, which was gathered from the data displayed in the Prism software program. Hyperbolic, hyperboloid, exponential, and linear equations were fit to the data. The AUC value was 22.17, closer to the I value, less impulsive, for male participants, and 3.54, the females should be closer to the 0 value for the female participants. The steeper female value was the smaller value under the curve, showing that the female participants discounted more rapidly. In other words, they chose the smaller, sooner option as opposed to the male participants who were more often chose the larger, later reward. Our study extends the results found in previous literature on delayed discounting in humans and animals. Higher rates of delayed discounting are often put to use as an index of impulsivity. The data advocates delayed discounting as an index of impulsivity in reference to the workouts. The current study confirms the results of similar findings with similar participants on healthy behavior choices. There are a few limitations to our study. One is that the subjects used in our research study included a very limited variety of participants. All participants were college students. This may have affected the results of the survey because it only includes a certain population of participants that are currently attending college on an on-campus program. With this in mind, future researchers should use participants in various age ranges, employment descriptions, education levels, and student statuses. This will allow for further investigation of whether discounting is an effective procedure to assess the healthy choices in various populations. Another limitation we had in the experiment was that participants had questions in regard to the quality of the workout. We didn't plan for this to occur. For example, some participants were unsure of the meaning of a horrible workout despite the definition in the key. The operant definitions for a horrible workout and a bad workout were somewhat subjective. Future studies should include more specific operant definitions in the key. In addition, future researchers may review the key with the participants before the study is conducted to clarify any questions. The last limitation of our study was that some of the participants indicated that they averaged 0 workouts per week, which could have skewed the results of the data. This information was reflected in the graph and may suggest bias in the data. Future research can compensate for this limitation by throwing out surveys that include participants who report that they do not work out regularly. Due to time constraints and participation requirements, the researchers were unable to do this. Surveys also pose a threat to validity of the research experiment due to the subjectivity of responses to questionnaires. Discounting itself entails the issue of subjective variables. An interesting investigation in the area of discounting in the future may deliver a questionnaire and then follow up to assess the choices actually made by the participants. Using the above suggestions for the direction of future research, behavioral scientists may establish studies with stronger experimental control, higher validity, and more reliable data. Scientists should continue to explore discounting in order to predict and influence other areas of choice behaviors. Appendix A shows our delayed discounting survey. It asks questions like, how old are you? What year in school are you? What is your ethnicity, gender? How many times do you work out? And then how would you rate your workout on average? And then there's a following key with more questions. This includes, would you rather have a horrible workout now or a great workout now? Horrible workout now, good workout now, and so forth. Appendix B shows a figure as a display of a hyperbolic, linear, exponential, and hyperboloid functions of participants' temporal discounting. Appendix C shows a display of the area under the curve for participants.